A listener who has asked for anonymity, and we always give anonymity to those who ask for it, even the haters, if they ask for anonymity, they get it. Of course, if they don't ask for anonymity and they're haters, they frequently don't get it. We're happy to give out their email address so people can write in to show how much they agree with them. Absolutely. But this listener is not a hater, and he's asked for anonymity. He's going to get it. Says, Dear Tom, first, to protect client identity, I must ask you just identify me as a concerned business coach. I think he's more than that, but that's all he wants to say. He says, I've listened to you for several years now, and the young men don't realize what a service you provide. Let me explain. You have talked about how men get involved with a woman because they are in, quote, and it's all caps every time he says the word, quote, love. And the next thing you know, they're working some dead-end job or deep in debt and wonder how they got there. Here are some examples to emphasize the point that involvement with a woman leads to dream kill. These are all my current or past clients. In the first scenario, client left his job in the construction industry and started his own company. He's never had credit card or debt issues. He owns his own home with a small first mortgage. He does take on debt to finance the purchase of equipment for the business. Nothing wrong there, part of the cost of doing business. Rolls along for several years, making some decent coin. Pays all his bills. Still has no debt other than equipment financing. Meets a woman and falls in, quote, love, and marries her. Within 3 years, has $100,000 in unsecured debt in his company. You know what unsecured debt is? That's like credit card debt. Debt where there's no house or car that somebody can put a lien on. Therefore, you pay higher interest because there's nothing to secure the debt. So, for example, his company might have taken out an American Express card or a MasterCard or something like that. And a lot of money being spent that wasn't being spent before. Has a second mortgage on his house. Is struggling to pay bills. Future growth potential of business is in jeopardy because debt loads limits ability to react to changing market conditions. Second scenario. Client starts in specialty construction subcontractor industry. Extremely knowledgeable and skilled in this business. Makes $10,000 to $20,000 a month net after expenses. Works long hours and works hard and builds great reputation with general contractors. Spends free time taking short trips to great locations and partying with his toys. Toys like a boat. Meets woman. Falls in, quote, love. Fortunately, doesn't marry her. Buys her, in quotes, her dream house in the country. Spends $1,000 working on house and lots of his own time. Not paying attention to his business because he's busy making the house which she wants. Business demand dries up as general contractors get fed up with lack of timely response. Cash flow to the business plunges. Now, struggling to pay bills. Boat and other toys he enjoyed before her presence get sold. Will likely end up closing business and working for someone else in this industry. Scenario 3. This guy works with people in business. Tries to coach them along to success. success in their financial lives, what have you. Scenario 3, client has a highly successful business. Builds it and builds it for several years. Works nights and weekends growing this business. Sells out at a huge profit. Starts another business. Builds it up. Making good money. Living a great life, entertaining and traveling around the world. Meets woman. Falls in, quote, love. And marries her. Still making decent money and working long hours and weekends. Now, see if this next sentence is familiar to you, because it is to me, and I'm going to be honest about that. I'm kind of plotting, just thinking about it here. To support her desires, and because he can no longer stand to come to his home and deal with the bitching and nagging. That sounds awfully familiar. How many times has the Tom Leykis show been on the road since he's been living alone? For how many days? Not very often, right? Tom Leykis show is in L.A. most of the time now. There was a time the Tom Leykis show was in Seattle and Portland and Dallas and Washington, D.C. and the British Virgin Islands. It was everywhere. And ever since Tom Leykis has been living alone, the Tom Leykis show primarily stays anchored right here at an unnamed movie studio on Melrose Avenue. Right? To support her desires, and because he can no longer stand to come to his own home and deal with the bitching and nagging. Missing business opportunities because of costs paid for her lifestyle, which most of these guys pay just to shut them up and keep them out of their hair. You've never seen me do that, have you, Gary? Spend money to shut a broad up and keep her out of my hair. You've never seen me do that, have you? No, never. Never, ever. Never bought a tennis bracelet. Never bought somebody a car. Never did that. Shut up, shut up, shut up, shut up. What do I have to buy to shut you up? Anyway, he says there are more, but this gives you the idea. These men were highly motivated, energetic, and successful. After their movement into a so-called loving relationship, business suffers. They are not highly motivated or successful, and they lost their drive and self-discipline. Generally, the end result is a divorce anyway because the gravy train has derailed. So you understand what happens? She drags him out of his focus, out of his ambition. Business suffers, and then when business suffers, or if he goes out of business or he goes broke or whatever, then she leaves him because he's a loser. He's a stiff. See, this guy is seeing it close up with his own clients. He says, just one more insult to injury. I see this time after time. Often, she takes over the bookkeeping to, quote, save money by not having to hire an employee or an outside bookkeeper. That is generally a kiss of death. There are, of course, exceptions. There are couples who have built themselves tremendous businesses together because they were both highly motivated and both driven to succeed in the endeavor. But so many times when the man has been building this on his own and has had any measure of success, he's marked as a target for a woman to, quote, land so she can, quote, be taken care of. He says, warn the boys, your business is yours. You maintain the books or have an employee that does so. Never, ever sleep with the help or marry them. You do not want someone who has intimate knowledge of your business involved with you romantically. Then they know just how much you can afford and will make every effort to spend every dime. When it's gone and the economy takes a downturn, you're screwed because you don't have a fallback position since you've spent all your reserves. He says, this is kind of thrown together, but just thought you could expound on it. I'm tired of seeing these men with so much potential get dashed against the rocks. They need to realize the challenges in their business aren't just within the business community. They are targets, huge targets Thanks, Tom. Keep up the good work. Signed, Concerned Business Consultant. Oh, he is so right. I'm not in his business. I'm in business. And I have had women try to tear me down at every turn. Women who try to get me to quit the radio business. Women who don't want me to work late. Women who don't want me to go out to dinner with business clients like advertisers or the radio stations that carry our show. Women who don't want me to travel out of town. Women who don't want me to stay overnight someplace because, you know, I had to be out late with a client or I had to be out late socializing with somebody in the radio business. Women who don't want me going to trade conventions like the NAB convention and the Radio and Records Talk Radio Seminar and other things that I've gone to. Yes, I have been with women who've tried to interfere with my career 6 ways from Sunday. By the way, in the recent past, I have dated women who have said things to me like, do you have to do the show the way you do it? Couldn't you just... Do you have to say the things you say? Couldn't you just, you know, provide information to people and be entertaining without being so negative? Sometimes they're sitting in my $2.5 million house and they're saying this to me. It's like, you know what? That's what built this house. That's what renovated this house. That's what bought this house. That's what bought my car. That's what buys my vacations to Europe. That's what bought my wine cellar and the wine in it. If you knew so much about doing this job, you'd be doing it. You would not be looking over my shoulder telling me how to drive. You'd be driving the car. But the letter writer is absolutely right. Guys, quote unquote, fall in love, and when they do, their judgment is clouded. You can't let chicks get involved in your business. You can't do it. You can't. As he says in the letter, there are exceptions, but not enough of them to make this something you want to do. You should probably not do it. I won't do it. I had a woman one time who told me she wanted to take over my filing. My filing. I've got many file cabinets. I've got files of different kinds. Files having to do with my radio job. Files having to do with my voiceover business. Files having to do with my comedy show, Boys Night Out, when I'm doing it. Files that have to do with my house. You know, real estate taxes, insurance, earthquake insurance, what have you. Files that have to do with personal business, you know, like the phone bill and the gas bill. She wanted to take over my filing. And she insisted. I mean, just insisted. And this was a relationship where I just wanted her to shut up. I couldn't get her to shut up. Now, the way to get her to shut up would be to lock her out of the goddamn house and say, don't come back, okay? But I was stupid. I didn't do that. I said, okay, do my filing. Except she doesn't think like anybody else who works in an office. So when I was looking for a copy of my, let's say, my driver's registration, my car registration, instead of having it under Department of Motor Vehicles or registration, she would have it under car or Lexus. And I'd have to guess, how does she think? And I would have to go through 4, 5, 6, 7 file folders trying to find one piece of paper. Multiply that by everything else. The electric company in Los Angeles is called the Department of Water and Power, known as the DWP. When I pay a bill, I generally pay it and put it in a file folder under the name of the payee on the check. So if I make the check to Department of Water and Power, that's the file. I don't put the bill in the folder marked electric or water or anything else, utilities. Almost nothing was in them. By the way, my office now, years after she has left, is still a shambles as I try to recreate my files. I try to put things back where they belong. And that's just little ways that I let somebody get involved in my business. You can't do it. We have said on this program many times that women are dream killers. The time to have a serious relationship, if you're ever going to have one, is after you have reached the pinnacle, after you have become really successful. Bang away, have fun, have group sex, do what you like, do 365 girls a year, do whatever you like. I'm no prude. Do it all. But you don't settle down with somebody until you already have made it at whatever it is you've dreamed of becoming. By the way, that has its own problems, and I'll tell you a little bit about that too before we take this break. That has its own problems. Because I've been with women who did not know me way back in the day when I made $160 a week. And many of them have no appreciation for how much work went into what I do. How many years I suffered, how many times I almost went bankrupt, how many risks I had to take. Their whole goal is they see a large pile of greenbacks and they'd like to spend through as many of them as possible in as short a period of time as possible. I don't let them do it. But I've been with more than one woman who just takes it for granted that I've always been rich. I've actually had women say to me, well, you had an advantage growing up. No, I didn't. I grew up poor, honey. You were not here when I was becoming successful at what I do. You were not around. So many of them don't even understand what you went through to get there, but at the very least, they can't lay claim to it. You own it. It's yours. You decide what the business is and how it's done. And for me, now that I'm pretty much established as what I'm going to be when I grow up, anybody who tries to interfere, I tell them point blank, don't tell me that. Don't talk to me about that. I know how to do my business. I don't get involved in your job or your business, whatever it is. Don't be telling me what to do, what not to do, and how to do what I'm doing. Don't do it. If they persist, they get the point of my leather boot right up their butt crack. That's what they get. They're dream killers. If you have a dream, they will try to drag you down, drag you back. They will be jealous of the dream as if it's another girlfriend. They will try to prevent you from becoming as successful as you want to be. And they've got that vagina you like to use so much. And unfortunately, what they will end up doing is they will regulate your access to that and try to get you to slow down or stop or do something else or not work late or not work weekends or not go out of town and what have you. Are there exceptions? Sure. So what? Generally speaking, that's what you get, isn't it?